hear you.
Okay. So, what we quickly want to look at is the role of agriculture in eradicating inflation and taming unemployment. So, the organizers they have the slide. So, the paper will try to establish that unemployment could be reduced through a functional agricultural system. Um, we will quickly try and look at some concepts and look at how agriculture can assist in reducing inflation and unemployment. While the topic says the role of agriculture, I will rather try to concentrate on agribusiness because that is the in thing. Yes, agriculture is about production, you know, cultivation of land, rearing and breeding of animals that are useful to man. But agribusiness is looking at application of every business principle onto the agricultural space. So while agriculture focuses on effectiveness, agribusiness will be looking at efficiency. And for us to be able to, for agriculture to be able to play the role that we want it to play, eradication of inflation and reduction of unemployment, it has to be quite efficient. So um, let us look at concept, our background. Nigeria, agriculturally, we are well endowed both with human and material resources. We have quite, an expanse of land, roughly over 923,773 kilometers square. But currently, um, we have just 40% of this that are under cultivation. So, which means we still have a very wide role. We can still do more agriculturally. So, um, in terms of employment, agriculture is, engaging close to 70% of our population, particularly where a whole lot of our people are still staying in the rural area, and the economy in the rural area is quite agrarian. So it is agricultural, it is agri-based. So, and because most of the things that are going on there, they are on subsistence level, they are still using simple tools. Large scale is not common there, and that is the reason why we are still discussing this issue. Um, we have abundant water resources, but in some area, particularly in the arid section of the northern part, the rain is very scanty. They have to rely on irrigation. So please, let us move this. Okay, let's stay here. There are concepts that we want to look at now. We want to look at inflation. We want to look at unemployment. We might have to look at even poverty. We have to look at poverty too. So inflation refers to the persistent and continuous rise in general level of prices. Classically, they say when too much money are chasing fewer goods. But what we have currently in the country is not that. It is not because we have too much money. It is cost push. Food inflation is constituting a lot to the general inflation that we have, and that is cost push. We will discuss more about that as it progresses. So, inflation can also be defined as, when we have generalized increase in the level of prices sustained over a long period of time in an economy. That is inflation. So, while inflation might be very hurtful for economy, zero inflation is also not too good for the economy. So um, it reduces the purchasing power of your currency, and it hurts greatly those who are on the fixed income earner. So let's look at unemployment. So unemployment is defined as people within the workforce people within the workforce, when they, and when I say people within the workforce back,
Go to check this.
um, people within 18 to 60, 65 or 70, it depends on, the economy that we are looking at, who are willing to work, who are willing to accept the minimum wage at that time, but cannot get unemployment, that is unemployment. In the recent time, the definition of unemployment by ILO is the unemployed is a member of the economically active population who are without work but available for seeking work. Please mute your mic, including people who have lost their job and who are voluntarily left. That is World Bank's definition. So let's go. Move the slide. So while poverty, okay, let's stay here. Matters arising, no, go to that slide. The next one ahead. Stay here. So matters arising here. Nigerian's inflation previously rose to 19.64% in July, the highest since September 2005. That is from National Bureau of Statistics. The Consumer Price Index, which measures the rate of change in prices of goods and services, surged 17 years high from 18.6 in the previous month. The increase was recorded against the backdrop of food inflation, which rose to 22.02% in July. Now, this is the point I'm making. Food inflation alone is pushing the general inflation up. The National Bureau of Statistics, in its Consumer Price Index (CPI) reports for July 2022, that on a month-on-month basis, the headline inflation rate is in July 2022 was 1.817%, which was 0.001 higher than the rate recorded in June 2022. Let's go. Move the slide now. Meanwhile, go back. Yeah. Meanwhile, the up item less farm produce, that is core inflation. That is when you supply food and you are looking at every other item. So exclude the prices of volatile agricultural produce stood at 16.26% in July 2022 compared to 15.75% recorded in the previous month on a month-on-month basis. The core inflation rate was 1.75% in July and up by 0.20 when compared to 1.56 recorded in July. So we need to get all this and see the contribution of food inflation. Food inflation in Nigeria quickened in August 2022 from 22.02%, the highest since October 2005. So admits the higher prices stable. So now the unemployment, those are the matters arising when we are looking at inflation. Matters arising when we are looking at unemployment rate is for 2021, unemployment was 9.75%, 0.07% increase from 2020. Nigeria unemployment for 2020 was 9.71. So, and that is a 1.18 increase from 2019. Let's go to the next slide. So graphically, this is what we have been discussing when it comes to inflation. Next slide. Next slide, please. Now, causes of unemployment. Go back. Yeah, thank you. So there are many causes of unemployment, and it is vital to understand them in order to combat this social evil. Some people might lack skill, knowledge, tools, belief, and value to perform financially rewarded activity might be part of it. Your belief might limit you that you should not work in certain sector. Certain belief might say you should not work where they are producing alcoholic, beverage. And if your skill is tilted towards that, and you don't want to, you know, get gainfully employed in that area. It is your belief that is hindering that. So the this result in lack of employment opportunity and cycle of poverty. Poverty is when someone is unable to enjoy the basic amenities with the available resources. You are under poverty. Poverty could be relative. What we consider poverty in certain economy might be luxury in another economy. What the developed economy considers as poverty might actually be enjoyment in underdeveloped economy. But when there is no hope in sight that you can coordinate the available resources to meet the basic need, that is abject poverty. Let's go. So, effect of inflation, lack of employment opportunity for many Nigerians resulted in large number of Nigerians living in poverty. In turn, poverty leads to alienation of poor, who are often rural residents from political and economic function. They are left out. They can't enjoy any of this. This cycle is complete when alienation further decreases these citizens' interest in developing the skill. You know, and we are getting to that place. People are questioning, they say education is scam because the expectation is that when you are educated, you will get a very good job. But by the time you are educated and you can still get a job or you pick up a skill, you can use that skill to, to improve yourself, to improve your standard of living. So people are wondering, why should we do it at all? Why go to school? So this leads to corruption, insincerity, and so on and so forth. Let's go. Move the slide. So high and unemployment analysis from go back. I need to relate this to agriculture. Yeah. Uh, Next slide. Yeah. Stay. No, I've missed this. Go back. Go back again. Go back again. Okay. Yeah, move. There is a slide that I'm looking for which relates unemployment to agriculture. Oh, wait here. So, effect of high rate of unemployment. High rate of unemployment has presented some challenges for the economy. So, your funding rate will go down. If you save an amount of money 2 years ago, what the money could do for you 2 years ago will have been drastically gone down now. Even last year, early last year, you can still get a crate of egg for 700, 800 for the big one, 900 for super big. Right now, that is over 2,000. You can calculate the percentage increase. So that I just pick one particular item, eggs. That tells you that the value of money last year has been seriously eroded by this current inflationary trend. So, some effect of unemployment include increasing poverty, prostitution, intra-ethnic hostility, depression. Depression used to be a foreign word to us when it's strange to say, I'm depressed. But these days, you hear everybody saying that, pushing some people to the extent of taking their life. Suicide is not our culture. It's not part of us. Or you hear somebody will just be driving, park on the third mainland, take a dive into the lagoon. So this is harsh reality of what inflation, unemployment, poverty, things that nobody will ever think of. We love ourselves. We love life, no matter what. We want to hustle. We want to hope for something better. But everything has its own elasticity limit. When you get to the limit, you do the unthinkable. So unemployed individual become more and more dissatisfied, and it can result to anything. If you ask them to go rioting, they won't mind. They can result into arson, burning down property and all that. So unemployment from agricultural point of view. Okay, this is the slide I was looking for. So the unemployment analysis from agricultural point of view suggests that people who have been majorly affected by unemployment are a great proportion of underprivileged Nigeria in rural areas where agriculture is primarily subsistence. Land is not easily accessible, not fully utilizable, credit facility are lacking, improved production methods are not practiced because they do not have access to it. So they are only involved in the upstream sector, which is production, which is at the subsistence level. So mainstream and downstream value addition, because there's no connection between them and technology. So these are the issues between unemployment and agriculture. In the recent time, however, this has been compounded currently by professionals who are also unable to get employed. Before, you think when you have graduated from school and you read certain courses, automatically maybe banking and finance, economics and so on, even accountants, engineers, they cannot even get job. So while this has attacked the agrarian economy, the rural economy a lot, is also leading to rural urban migration. Even within the city, the situation is getting bad. And that's the reason why banditry, kidnapping, all sorts of vices are on the rise. So now let's look at agriculture as a solution. Now, if agriculture has its own problem, some of these problems we'll be mentioning, the backwardness within the sector. We said it's providing for about 70% of the population. Over 80% of those 70% are practicing subsistence farming using hoes and cutlasses, coming up with yield that is enough to even support them and their family. So that is not the type of agriculture that can, play any role in the 21st century economy. If we cannot emancipate our agricultural sector from this subsistence level to move to the modern practice where you can be using, people look at Lagos and they say we are not agrarian because of lack of land. Go to Israel. The size of Israel as an independent state is not almost the same thing as, Lagos, but they can feed themselves. They are self-sufficient in food production because they are tapping into all the available technology. So when we move into talking about the modern way of doing agriculture, a lot of them they will need power, energy, electricity. This is another issue. Elsewhere, people are talking about 6G. MTN is currently advertising emergence of 5G. The current one that we are using is 4G. A whole lot of my people are still struggling with 3G. So look at the issues, the struggle we had at the beginning of this class. Can you hear me? You cannot hear me. Network issue. So if we cannot go above this level, it will affect not only agricultural, it will affect every sector. So if majority of these people that we say they are engaged in agriculture, if they are still using the old in this thing, where the yield is extremely low, you talk about the volume of milk per a particular um, cow that you can get elsewhere. When you look at our own here, when the animal is not well fed, how can you get enough and you are keeping it for dairy purposes? You cannot get enough. It's garbage in, garbage out. So I'm trying to let us know that for agriculture to play this role as solution provider for inflation and unemployment, agriculture itself must be well positioned. We have been talking about agriculture was fantastic in the early days, but as soon as we got into oil boom, which was supposed to be um, an opportunity for us, it pushed us backward because we abandoned agriculture. The trend that we were supposed to be following, we abandoned it. For people where the oil is even derived, the Niger Delta people, a whole lot of them, because of abundance of water, they were fishermen and fisherwomen. But oil spillage and all that disrupted the environment, and agriculture in these areas that were majorly agrarian, is almost at point zero. When you move to the northern area where they practice a lot of agriculture, because of the desert encroachment moving into the northern, forming the extreme north, they might not have rain more than a month or two. The remaining part of the year is dry. So these are threats to agriculture. So we can move out of this threat by embracing technology. But you cannot make use of technology if you do not have sufficient power. So because power is very limited in supply, which is limiting our access to technology. So it's a serious matter. Serious matter. So the few people who can produce all year round relying on technology, their market average is very high because of cost of diesel. So power alone is adding unnecessarily to the cost of production. That aside, there are some component of feed that we are still unable to provide internally, and they are importing them. And this again is another crisis within the agricultural sector, particularly aquaculture, which is fish farming. So poultry feed and they are extremely expensive because the major component of all this, they are being imported. They are dollar based. So anything that's dollar based, as naira stumbles, it becomes expensive. So feed, fish feed and poultry feed, they constitute close to 70% of the cost of production. So this makes it extremely difficult for somebody to practice in those areas at small scale. Only those who are surviving there, they are the large scale people who are enjoying economies of scale because they buy in bulk, they produce in bulk, and this pushes the marginal cost of producing one unit down. But for the subsistence people, there is a minimum level that you can produce before you can even break even. I'm not even talking about profit. So if you are producing below that level, you cannot break even. So if we are talking about somebody asking you to bring a business plan, you prepare the business plan and the business plan is in red. How do you want to convince the financial service provider or investor to put money in that area? So before we look at the point I'm trying to make is that before we look at um, how agriculture can act as solution provider is, if agriculture can serve as solution provider, if agriculture is well positioned, we should not be having this discussion in the first instance. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. We should not be having this discussion if agriculture is well positioned. Elsewhere, because they were overproducing close to 2 million gallons of milk, they had to pour it away because they overproduce. While we are struggling to get enough, some people are overproducing. So even to bring it here as dumping ground, it's not possible because of naira and dollar relationship. Once it's coming from outside, it doesn't. They don't come cheap again. But unfortunately, as they are coming, they do not encourage local production. That is the problem. They are not encouraging local production. Take rice, for instance. It's easy to bring rice from Thailand, from Brazil, and all those Asian tigers, while we are struggling, battling to, produce this locally. So these and many more are the issues surrounding agriculture. So when I'm talking about agriculture as a solution for inflation and unemployment, you might be wondering inside your mind that, so why are we having the unemployment? So why are we having the inflation? It is because agriculture itself has its own problem. The sector has its own problem. Um, Generally speaking, that is not out of expectation. If you have a circle, the circle is bad completely. You want to bring out a small sector of that circle and you want that one to be seen. It's not possible because the length of that circle, they are radii of the bad. The length of your sector are radii of your bad circle. The angle at the center is part of the 360 angle of the bad circle. The length of the arc is part of the circumference of that circle. So you cannot expect agriculture alone to be very sane when the entire system is struggling. It's impossible. But be that as it may, let us quickly look at how agriculture can serve as a solution provider for inflation and unemployment. Let me face inflation as the first one. The current inflation that we are having, if it is the normal inflation, what the CBN is going to do to address the inflation is using the monetary method and the fiscal method. When they want to use the monetary method, they use the money supply by reducing, mopping up the excess liquidity in the circulation. So using open market operation, OMO, and any other method, just to make sure that they reduce the money in circulation. If they want to use the fiscal method, taxation and government expenditure, government will spend less, government will increase the taxation. But unfortunately, what we are experiencing right now is not that classical inflation. It's cost push inflation. It is because the cost of production is so high. That's the reason why we are experiencing this inflation. It's not because too much money are chasing around few goods. It is cost push. You cannot sell beneath your cost of production. I just give you an example of um, fish farming and poultry now. So the poultry farmer is struggling to get a fish to a table size of 1 kg. The cost of doing that is threatening to 1,100, 1,200, 1,300. Those who are coming to buy from him, they are saying that they cannot buy more than 1,2. They cannot buy more than 1,3. Where is the farmer's margin? The system corruptly supports those within the mid and downstream sector. That is logistic, value addition, and produce marketing. Those people that are selling fish in bath, they go to the fish farmer. They insist that they can't buy more than 1,3 per kg because the farmer has, pushed the feed to that level.
Oh, sorry, everyone. Sorry, everyone.
I
Can
can
anyone
hear
hear
you.
me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Are we back? Thank you.
Yeah, we can hear you. We
So,
can hear you.
all right. So, when these bad people approach the fish farmer, they buy for maybe 1,3. And when you go to them, any part of Lagos State, Ojuwoye, Jankara, Mojoba, wherever, one that they bought for 1,300 from the farmer, They might tell you it's 1.8, they might tell you it's 2,000. Look at the profit within a day or two, and the farmer labored for 3 months, 5 months, 6 months. It depends on which type of stock he used, whether fingerling, maybe advanced juvenile, or maybe he just took it to melange, which is about 3, 4 months. You work for about 5, 6 months. You are struggling to get 5% profit margin, and somebody worked for maybe a day or two and is getting a profit of 80%, 90%, even 100%. You can see the crisis that we are facing there. So, as a youth, it is easier for you to go into produce marketing, get it where it's cheap, and take it to where it's needed that you can get it, sell it at the higher price. But without the upstream sector, which is the production sector, there cannot be midstream, there cannot be downstream, which is the value addition and produce marketing. So, but be that as it may, that is the situation that we have on ground. So, agriculture as a solution, one component in determining how to use agriculture to improve economy in Nigeria, which borders on reduction of unemployment and inflation and incidence of poverty, is to evaluate the historical effort in terms of agriculture that Nigeria has engaged in since its independence. This will ensure that the country does not repeat the past mistake. What past mistake are we talking about? Abandoning agriculture because of the oil boom. In addition, this evidence will demonstrate whether or not it is feasible for agriculture to be a primary factor in Nigerian economic development. So, we must appreciate the difference between growth and economy. Growth, once we see certain indices rising, we can say there is economic growth. But development, it has to do with man. It has to do with people. There can be growth without development. Our government, we in the government, we can go on television and we are rolling out statistics. And man on the street is wondering, how am I not feeling all this? The man inside the TV is not lying. There has been growth, but there has not been development. Why? Development was brought by man, designed by man. It will be assessed by man, and finally is for man. So if there is growth, if there are improvement, but it's not touching man, it's not touching the man on the street, then that is not development. It is just an ordinary growth. So when we say Nigerian economic development, we are talking about the people. If their standard of living is not rising, if they are not feeling better, then that development is not real development. So, along with the historical factors, there must be an evaluation of both internal and external factors that could impact the Nigerian agricultural market. In addition, it is important to identify the strategies needed to enhance economic growth through the use of agriculture. Move to the next slide, please. Now, in order to eradicate unemployment and poverty in Nigeria, innovative method, underline the word innovative. Innovation, there is a difference between creativity and innovation. Creativity is coming up with something fresh, something new. Innovation is finding a better way of doing something which is already in existence to get a better result. So, most of you listen to me, I consider you young entrepreneur. All these challenges that I've been discussing, you must not see them as a problem. You must see them as opportunity. When we say you entrepreneur, you must be able to come up with new ideas. Sometimes you wonder, they say new idea, where does that come from? Can anybody come up with something new? It might not be entirely new. Look at your environment, your immediate environment. What are the gaps that are available that can result into an opportunity for you? I will give you one or two examples. If you are staying in an estate and all of you have to get out of the estate to get shawarma, either you ride on keke, you drive your car, you take an Okada or
Mm. I apologize. I think Mr. Olushina is having a network issue, but it will be back with us shortly. Please let's stay tuned. For 12 minutes.
Possibly the network. Yeah, yeah.
okay, we are back. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can
Thank
hear you,
you.
sir.
Yeah.
So, thank you. So, you as a young man, an entrepreneur, you should see a gap. Like if almost all my estate they love shawarma, and you have to travel outside the estate to get the shawarma, why can't I pick the skill of making shawarma? All you need to do is to establish a shawarma point in your estate. People don't have to ride keke, go on Okada, burn fuel to go outside to get the shawarma. But just make sure that if it's not better from the one that they are getting from my side, it's of the same quality. I'll give you a very funny instance. Um, I'm a Muslim, and after a certain Ramadan that I observed with my uncle who was staying in a new estate. So we now went for the end of Ramadan prayer. Because the beggars who will stand to beg for money, they did not know of that location. So nobody came. So at the end of the prayer, one guy that seated behind me, well dressed, he just got up, removed his cap, and stood at the entrance. And people started giving him money. And I looked at the guy, smart guy. He saw the gap that naturally people should be here begging for money, and there were nobody. And he filled the gap. The gap that guy made a lot of money. The point I'm trying to make is that wherever you are, just open your eyes, identify the gap, and turn that gap into opportunity for yourself. It might not be any of the instances that I've made, but look around. Just identify the gap. Once you see the gap, that gap means opportunity. Let me pick Lagos as an example within the agriculture. What we produce within the state and what we consume, there are gaps in all the sectors, except if somebody should mute his mic. There's a mic that is, please mute your mic. So, you see, um, I am trying to make a point that in Lagos, our local production is low to what we are consuming in Lagos. That gap means opportunity, except in piggery alone. That is where we produce enough for what we are consuming, and people are even coming from outside the state to come and buy here. All that stuff, go to my 12. People are bringing in tomato, pepper. Not that we don't produce in Lagos, but what we are producing is extremely low. These are gaps. If you open your eyes, then you should know that, okay, I can chip in here. So let me go back to this slide. In order to eradicate unemployment and poverty, where I went is that we need innovative method. Things cannot be, you can't be doing the same things the same way that we have been doing it, and you'll be expecting a different result. So the price of doing the same old thing is greater than the price of change. We need to embrace innovation. So this needs to be used to successfully tackle unemployment and poverty. In Nigeria, tackling unemployment requires development and implementation of programs that will directly benefit the poor by reconstructing sources of Nigerians' gross domestic product to significantly include a variety of industry that are labor intensive, such as cottage industries. So you see, SMS is the bedrock of any economy. The big company and big corporation, they usually make up maybe 20, maybe 30%. It is before you meet a big company, you will see a number of SMS. On your street, you might not have a single big company there, but you have a lot of SMS, a barber shop, a hair salon, mama put selling food, somebody selling household items. You might see some of them employ one person, two persons, and a lot of that. So by the time you bring it together, the aggregate of what the SMS employ is far in excess of what the big corporations are employing. So improvement in agricultural production, please, I think is Enero Razak. Please mute your mic. I'm getting a lot of feedback from you. Ohoyi, Enero Razak, please mute your mic. So, improvement in agricultural production by making land available to private sector and public organizations to set up industry in the most economically depressed area of Nigeria, and providing training in setting up industry, especially cottage one, to unskilled and economically deprived Nigeria will make ownership of small-scale industry a viable source of employment opportunity and building wealth for Nigeria. Move the slide, please. So, in addition, businesses and government entities can also be encouraged via incentive to locate industries that are labor intensive in areas with highest incidence of poverty. So, which will usually be rural area. So this, if we can urbanize, make employment available via agriculture. When we say agriculture, not only we are talking about agricultural value chain from farm to fork. Everything in between is agriculture, even logistic. Moving food from one place to another is part of agricultural value chain. Smoking the fish from fresh to smoked fish is part of agricultural value chain. So when we are talking agriculture, don't limit your scope. Don't limit everything to um, just cultivation of land, rearing or breeding of animal. No, and everything in between to make sure that the food is on the table. Produce marketing is still part of agriculture. So successive government in Nigeria has always initiated program towards promoting agriculture to guarantee food security and reduce youth unemployment. However, this program have not yielded the kind of result that we want due to our problems, mismanagement, structural weakness, corruption, and depoliticization of these programs. Next slide, please. So, one of the main objectives of agricultural activity is to provide food for man. Agriculture provides employment opportunity, raw material for industries, foreign exchange earning to Nigeria. It has been reported that in Nigeria today, over 60%, 65% of the population derive income from livestock rearing, crop farming, forestry, or fishing. Agriculture has many branches, which allow people to specialize and gain employment in those fields. So for you as a youth, you need to be calm and look through the field value chain. Look at where you yourself you have a comparative advantage. So, and once you identify where you have your comparative advantage, that is when you need to move in. So, agriculture, if properly embraced and funded, will guarantee full security, reduce poverty, and reduce unemployment rate in Nigeria. Diversification of the economy through a functional investment in agriculture by individual, not only government alone. There must be a lot of collaboration between the private sector and the government. In Lagos State, we put the private sector in the driver's seat. While we, the government, we are just creating the enabling environment. Next slide, please. Thank you for your attention. That's a bit of the paper. So, do we, moderator, do we have, hello, Madam
Sorry,
Moderator.
can you mute your mic? Please, let's mute our mic. We are with you, sir. All right. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone, for the session. Thank you, sir. I hope we all really enjoyed the session. And just in case you've been thinking that when it comes to battling unemployment and inflation in Nigeria, the agricultural sector had nothing to do or no contribution towards it, I think this session has actually changed your mindset. And you know, there are a lot the agricultural sector can actually do to battle inflation and unemployment in Nigeria. Thank you for the wonderful session, sir. It was such a nice session. So before bringing on board the next speakers, I want to let us know that I'll be handing over the moderating to my colleague, Mr. David, immediately after this session. So right now, I want to bring on board the speakers for the announcement of the farmland winner, the program coordinating team, together with Mr. Adedeji. Can come on board now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ilami. Before that, I have seen some questions for our speaker in the income message. And if you have questions, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can.
I hear you.
Yes. If you have any questions, kindly raise up your hand so that we can take your questions. And I'll be reading some of the questions that are on the income message for our speaker. So one of the questions that was raised during the course of the speech by Mr. Ikena Okafor around 11:52 a.m. is, he said, as a director in the ministry, he was referring to our speaker. What is your advice to youth aspiring to go into farming, and how do your ministry support young aspiring farmers? That's number one. And number two, I want to go into poultry and I don't have the capital. Advise me as director in the Ministry of Agriculture. I think that is two in one question. So are you going to take it one after the other? I should read them all out.
Let me take those two questions first. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes,
So,
sir.
as a ministry, we have a lot of program for first and foremost skill acquisition. Agriculture is not a no man's land. It's not something that you just feel, since I don't have anything doing, I want to go into it. So you need to acquire the skill first. You see, after 2 years, statistics show that about 70% of SME, they don't get to their 2 years, they don't witness their 2 years anniversary before they die. Why? Because you go into it without vision, without mission, without objective, without the required skill set before venturing into it. So in the ministry, we have Lagos Agripreneurship Program, where we train people for 6 months. So be watching our website. When they are going to do this next batch, we advertise, you pick the form, you do the assessment online. If you are fortunate, it is free. They house them, the state houses them, they feed them for 6 months. They train you intensive training in poultry, aquaculture, vegetable farming. We have other programs where people pay to come and learn intensive training, because if you do not have capacity, even if you have the fund, you will just waste that fund and you move out of that sector. And you will be claiming the meanwhile, you didn't get enough skill set. Thirdly, there are programs that we do to link people to a source of funding. For instance, agribusiness loan, agribusiness small and medium Enterprise Investment Scheme. The fund is resident with the CBN, but it's the bankers forum that are contributing certain percentage of their profit after tax.
Hello.
We as Lagos State government, there is a training that you need to undergo to be able to access that fund. It's a must. They call it EDI training. Lagos State Ministry of Agriculture is an EDI center. So if you are interested in that fund, you undergo the training before you can access the fund. So for my brother that is interested in poultry and saying, how can we assist as a ministry? So land is a resource that we have very limited in supply in Lagos. Land is a resource that we have very limited in supply in Lagos State. I cannot guarantee that we can provide land for everybody that want to go into agriculture. That would be, I'll be lying to you if I say that, because we don't have much land.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Onasi, please. Can we have your question? I can see you raising up your hand. Onweyi. I'm sorry, I'm not sure I got the pronunciation right, but you can have your question, please.
Nero. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you, sir.
Actually, based on what you guys are saying, is very interesting. But what about the people that are far away from the state? I don't know how we can be able to do things like that. Because as at now, I am in Kogi State for one of assignment there, so I don't know how is it.
Okay, thank you. If I got it very well, you are not within the state, you are far away from the state now, and you are thinking of how can you benefit from some of these things that that I've mentioned. First and foremost, there are some, like those training technical support that we grant. You must be within the state before you can benefit that. But for EDI, that is Entrepreneurship Development Institute training. It's a prerequisite before you can get the ADMIS loan. So for that, it's a national program. Lagos State Ministry of Agriculture just incidentally happens to be one of the accredited and registered ADI center. You can do that anywhere you are in the country. It's a national program. So, but if you are in Lagos, you can register with Lagos State Ministry of Agriculture as ADI center to have the training so that you can process the fund. Any other question? Yes.
I believe Mr. Ikenna Okafor, your question has been answered.
I saw a question on this thing. It said whether a startup can benefit from Lagos Care, Fadama Lagos Care. Yes, essentially, Lagos Care is to bring back to life those SME in agricultural space that were badly hit by the incident of COVID-19 pandemic. So the aim of that is to, incentivize, support them to bring their businesses back to life. So, and it's not for big businesses, it's for startups, it's for small businesses, people who are doing any part of agriculture, small businesses, but they have been badly affected by the incident of COVID. So, but you know that every program has a guideline. Our facilitator has been moving from one community to the other to identify people. People who have been identified, registered with them, they are currently being assisted with what they have chosen, what they think they lack most. People are being given and feed. People are being given. That is a grant, just an assistance. But we don't just enter into community have been given. Our facilitators have been there before. Because of lack of trust between the citizen and the government, when the facilitator went there, a lot of people did not believe them. They were virtually begging them to come and register. It was when they now saw the input and the asset being given that we now have mad rush people who are now trying to register. So yes, startup can benefit from it, and they are already benefiting from it. But see that they are giving, they are the people who are previously registered. Any other question?
Yes, Mr. Ajala. I can see that your hand is raised up. Please, can you ask your question? You can unmute your mic.
Please go ahead, brother. Hello. Hello.
Yes, I'm with you.
Mr. Ajala, sorry, can you
Hello.
unmute your mic? Are you there?
Okay, good afternoon. Asala.
I'm with you.
Please, sir, I want
I'm with
to
you.
ask a question. Okay, you talked about an API as a national program. Hello, I want to ask that. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, my question is that you talked about API as a national program. We at the southern part of Nigeria, the Niger Delta in particular region, the Niger Delta region in particular, what could be our benefit in this program? Because this program, we are not aware of it in this part of the country. So where exactly can we locate the program in the Niger Delta region?
Okay, thank you. Was that Mr. Ajala?
No, Miss Ada.
Mr. Ajala, okay, thank you. So, like I said, it's a national program. So in your location, Google the EDI centers in maybe, I don't know, Niger Delta is a wide place. I don't know, maybe you are in Akwa Ibom, maybe you are in Rivers, maybe you are in Bayelsa, maybe you are in Delta. Well,
I'm in Bayelsa.
Bayelsa. Google,
I'm in Bayelsa right now.
Google
Yes.
EDI centers in Bayelsa. It will pop up. You will see centers where you can register, have the training, and apply for the loan. Google it. So centers will pop up that are in Bayelsa. So, and you can register with them.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So quickly, moderator, but go ahead. I saw Jami Adewale. He wrote most of the government programs, they go to the party members. So let me respond quickly to that. Like the Lagos care that I just mentioned, I am fully involved because of the lack of trust. I mentioned it before, and that's the reason I'm responding to Jami Adewale's this thing. When they went to, I personally visited Oto community proper. I visited some other community within the Lagos mainland. The general this thing was that they confessed themselves that when the enumerators come, they did not believe that anything will come out of it. They felt it was time wasting. So we registered across the state from each local government, some 4,000 people who wanted the distance. And now we are taking the benefit back to them. Those people, I don't think they are party member. It is the prerogative, whoever wanted to. The enumerator had a pressure to bring registered people in. They were struggling, practically begging people to come and register. But when the first batch, the benefits started coming in, they are now pressures. You don't know how they pick them, and people will say all sorts of things to, make their point. So, like the lab that I mentioned to you, we advertise, people call my number. How do we do this? The registration is online. The technology does not discriminate. If you go to the portal, you will register. They will tell you when you are going to have your exam to do this thing, your assessment. It's online too. You will see what you got. If you will see the cutoff. So the government is struggling to do things in a transparent manner. If you do it in an analog version, no matter how much I try, people will not believe. They say maybe the person is attempting to, it's either his brother, sister, cousin, or something. But you go online, you get registered, this thing will tell you when your assessment will be. You go there, people complain, maybe network, maybe this thing. We do make up for them. And people call my number back to say thank you for this. So it is high time for us to leave the feeling of entitlement. Like don't sit down and say they are lying. Do your own bit and leave the rest to God. So if you say party members too, they don't take it to their doorstep. They struggle. They struggle to get it. So we all get to hustle.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. If any other person has any other question, please just drop it in the in-house call.
So
because
I saw something. I didn't see the name, but I got the message that there are a lot of mistrust and all that in the government. That why don't we employ radio and all that? You are very correct. Even Dorfman, I told them when they came to have a meeting with us, some of the program that they brought to us, and I asked them, some of my colleagues, they are not aware that government is doing this. They said no. So, and I feel maybe we are not telling our story enough. Maybe we need to shout more for people to know that this and this are happening. So whoever wrote that, I saw the message and I agree with you that maybe we need to do more in terms of sensitization and all that. Thank you. Any
thank
other
you very
question?
much, sir.
You are
Thank you
welcome.
very much, sir. So we would like to move on to the next session, but before we do that,